Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Before we get started, I just want to assure everyone that the next episode of Rift's New West Guide is amazing. It's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it's coming soon, don't worry. In the meantime, though, you can go ahead and buy a print of the cover art for that video, available on palladiumbooks.com, and don't worry, any year now I'll get around to finishing that series. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about a new Rifts Sourcebook that just came out that no one was expecting and hadn't even been, promoted all that much compared to all the other books that, have been talked about that are supposed to be coming down the pipe. We don't want to see Rifts Laszlo. We don't want to see Rifts Antarctica. What we want to see is character creation options so that you can have your players play members of the Emperor Prosek's personal secret psychic police force. Efforts I've made in the past to try to get across the point that, Risk kind of is unfairly labeled as being pro-fascist, and that it's actually kind of, subtly an anti-fascist game because by including coalition player characters and going through the story arc of an in-game kind of thing of, you start off having been indoctrinated by the coalition, but through your experiences you realize that, like much of what you've been told are lies and distortions, and eventually you break free of the conditioning and all that kind of stuff and join the right side of history kind of a vibe. Well, so much for that, because like I said, now you get to work directly for the Emperor as one of his secret psychic police with coalition Manhunters. And you can kind of say it's kind of just the psychic source book for the coalition. That basically it's I'm not sure if you really would call it a Scyscape 2. It takes a lot of the same material out of Scyscape in terms of, the basic classic core types of psychic player characters, and just kind of recasts them as the coalition version. Doesn't, go into too much detail about Psy Battalion or anything that's been talked about in previous source books that needed a bit more fleshing out, in my opinion. Instead, it gives us the PsyOps division, which, the super secret Gestapo, basically, of networks of informants and patriots and snitches and secret assassins who answer directly to the Emperor himself. Certainly the fodder for a lot of heroic gaming right there. And great NPCs that your characters will be very clear about what it is that they're facing if used the way written. It's got a bunch of interesting stuff in it. I don't want to come across as if I dislike the source book. I actually rather like it. It kind of undermines some of the messaging that, of like, hey, this game isn't about playing bad guys. He put out a source book full of OCCs of people who are pretty explicitly bad and are the least likely of all of any coalition characters to, go woke, so to say, out there in the fields of ravaged Tolkien or whatever it is. These are all people who are, real true to the cause of the coalition states. It revises some psychic powers. It adds some new psychic powers, introduces like a new neurostim type of MOM technology that the coalition's been developing. You get a fresh new write-up for dog boys and kill hounds. And also, though, it does introduce the specialized corgi dog boy, which is a bit more geared for, hunting magic users and all that kind of stuff than your average dog boy is. It's as worth the price as most other Palladium books if you're into collecting them and all that. Cover is just an atrocious cop-out. It's weird that this is one of the first releases for Rifts after they hired their new creative director from Savage Worlds to come over there and help Kevin out. We've gotten a couple of raw previews put out for books. It'd be nice if those would just be finished up. It's been how many years since Rifts Antarctica was listed, and that they've had prints for the cover of that book for sale on there, and still no indication of when the fuck that's actually supposed to be finished. Still waiting for Rifts Bestiary 2. Still waiting for Rifts Chaos Earth Psychic Scream. Palladium just like way overpromises stuff, and their reluctance to just blindly shop out, manuscripts to get writers to write them, and the kind of like I feel like in some ways the whole thing with the Rifter magazine is probably fed into this yes man culture. I don't know, like, could Kevin Simbietti just be like a raging megalomaniac dilettante who just has to be handled carefully? There's this stupid preamble. First page of this book is just another one of those Kevin patting himself on the back, and I don't want to compare myself to Stan Lee, but, Excelsior, true believers, kind of tone to it, and, I was told that, the fans love me talking about myself in the front of my books like this. And it's like, dude, make a YouTube channel. I talk about myself on my YouTube channel, but in the books I write, I just write about the material and don't spend 3 pages trying to convince you that, like, I'm some great guy, super genius. Because of the way Palladium has kind of set up their cadre of writers, it's not like I have to worry about burning any bridges. I don't give a shit about having interviews or inside access, and it's not like they're ever going to hire me to try to figure out some sort of end cap for this maddening split timeline they now have, thanks to Savage Worlds and the non-inclusion of the Minion War in that variation. To that degree also, this book mentions the Tomorrow Legion, which I feel like in some ways kind of breaks that barrier that like these are supposed to be kind of 2 different timelines between the ongoing events in the original Palladium version of Rifts and the new alternate take on what the years 109 and 110 will be that you find in Savage Worlds. That's undercut by that. There's hints that Lord Coke might be some sort of secret half-demon or something. They're not specific about it, but there's emphasis on the hidden danger as the 7th prophecy that lies beyond the Minion War for the whole prophecy of doom and all that kind of stuff that traces back to the Mechanoid Sourcebook. It does make a few mentions of the Disavowed, which is another book that I have heard them saying that it's coming, guys. Apparently it's another Coalition Psychic Secret Police Force, but that one run by the Emperor's son, Joseph. So, so many books to still develop. So many parts of the map of Earth that still need to be fleshed out. And we can't even get knuckle-dragging, bottom-of-the-barrel crap like Antarctica put out. Maybe it's taking so long to make a Rifts Antarctica book because Rifts Antarctica was a terrible idea. I mean, the only thing you can really do with it is basically rip off the Savage Lands from X-Men. I mean, maybe you have some sort of secret high-tech society from Argentina or something has been hiding down there, living in ice bunkers. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with it. And I never will know, because instead we're getting stuff like this. As I said, it's not bad at all. It's a good read. It just weirdly paints Emperor Prozac in a very positive, sympathetic light, and I don't know. Maybe it is all a lie. Maybe Rifts actually is pro-fascist and just tries to deny it as much as they can. So, I mean, but seriously, this is the best cover. Like, what's going on there? Is Palladium in dire straits, actually, and just not letting on? I mean, like, seriously, dudes, like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, though, it's worth checking out. I mean, you needed another write-up for the Dogboy OCC, right? And Kill Hounds, because you don't, it's like, it's not like we already have, like, 3 different books that already have those. And more psychic powers to have to stop and reference in the middle of play. That's cool. Everything's cool. A bunch of just renamed. It's like they took all the psychic character classes from Skyscape and all give them animal names. So instead of a Mind Melter, now you're playing. Oh, which one was it? The Raven, the Mud Skipper, the Owl, the Rat. I think that was Panther. Yeah, the Mind Melter is called a Panther now. A Psychic Precognitive is the Owl. The Psychic Mechanic is the Raven. That kind of stuff. Good job, guys. As always, it's what we needed. It does have a couple of interesting pieces of art in here, if you ignore the comic book part. Albeit, once again, though, there's this thing I did notice while looking through it in some of the art where, you see scenes of life in the Coalition, and they got all these propaganda posters up everywhere and stuff, which, like, certainly fits the vibe of the Coalition well. However, like, most of the citizens of the Coalition are illiterate, so exactly what is the point of having the Emperor is watching you posters if no one can read that? Is it like a secret test to find out who actually knows how to read by testing to see who reacts to what the posters are saying? The Coalition, like, all their stuff should basically be all emojis and YouTube videos and having computers talk to you instead of having to look at a monitor, kind of like Iron Man having the girl's voice in his ear when he's in the suit and stuff, instead of having to stop and, like, read the information. Just, Friday, tell me all about it kind of shit. And, but I guess that's a bit harder to portray in a small little, black and white piece of art to stick into a book. It's just a little thing that I can't help but notice. But yes, this is letting us know that the Disavowed is coming. Guaranteed. Any day now, they'll put it out. I don't know. I mean, as I said, it's perfectly fine. Rifts Sourcebook. It's a bit thicker probably than it needed to be, and it reprints materials. But that's just part of the Rifts vibe. Why not reprint the character classes that are already present in the main rulebook? You get to charge another couple bucks for the book by making it a little bit thicker, and you avoid having to write even more additional original new material. You can save that for Rifts Laszlo whenever that's coming out. I don't know. I'd probably have had a better initial reaction to this book if it didn't start off with this page-long self-aggrandizement from the author. Save that shit for the right time and place. You're surrounded, on the off chance that Kevin Symbieta were to ever deign to watch this video, you've surrounded yourself with too many fucking yes men, and I'm not even sure even hiring your creative director is going to, actually counteract that. Apparently you have to be handled in a certain way in order to be able to get projects through. And frankly, man, like, the game's been around fucking for 40 years. Like, who gives a fuck? A good chunk of the role-playing game community sneers at Palladium. Won't even, like, listen long enough to, hear a pitch to try to talk them into, like, actually, like, giving it a shot and that it's not as bad as they think it is, and yada, yada, yada. I've certainly have, since I started this channel, I've made quite a few videos about Rifts and going to the mat to try to defend the game system and the game and all that kind of stuff from, like, just some of the wild and just ill-thought accusations that get hurled its way. And I probably would have had a much better opinion of this book if it just... No one cares about you, Kevin. Just write the fucking products and get them out. You want to write a fucking autobiography of how cool you think you are, then write that. But in the meantime, finish the fucking Laszlo book. Go ahead and put out the stupid Antarctica book that no one needs. And then start looking for the other parts on the goddamn map that have not had source books. Why? We need, like, a British Columbia book for Ixion. We need more stuff about Central and Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent. Maybe Australia, too. I know the guy who wrote Australia 1 fucking flamed out and got pissed at you, but you can always hire someone else. If Australian authors are not hip to putting in the mutant monster kangaroo writing shit that you want to see in that setting, then hire a fucking American to write it who doesn't care and is perfectly happy to come up with stupid Australian wildlife stereotypes and stuff. There's no excuse for this. I am a little fucking nobody, and I can crank out 20 plus books in less than a year without a big team around me, without any support, without any real fucking budget. And albeit because of that lack of budget, it's not like a shit ton of people are buying my stuff. But my point is not that I'm great. It's that what one man can do, another can do. Ignore your writer's block. Write down a list of, like, here's in the order of when you told people you're going to release these books, and then just start at the top of that list and write the fucker. And if you're having trouble with it, hire a ghostwriter. You can still slap your fucking name on it. Hell, you can still even add a whole page tonguing your own ass if you feel like it. But just fucking get to work, bro, and stay waspinated.